Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the football betting series here on YouTube Premier League edition. It's been a rough start to the month of February. Our record stands at 2 wins, 3 losses and 0 pushes for a monthly loss of £90 so far, following what was quite a successful January record. When we take that away from the series record, we're standing at 125 wins, 47 losses and 20 pushes, and a total series profit of £800 and 38 pence. I've got 4 picks in today's episode, so if you think I'm talking some sense, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Without further ado, let's get into it. Our first pick sees 18th place Leicester City playing host to 2nd place Arsenal, and Leicester they were beaten soundly in their last match away at Everton. Doucouré got the Toffees off to a great start, scoring within the first minute, and from there on, Everton didn't look back. Beto bagged a brace before the interval, with Ndai adding a cherry on top of the cake with goal number 4. 4-0 the final score. Taking a look at the stats, the scoreline does reflect the underlying numbers. Leicester's 9 shots and 1 on target means their XG was just 0.3, which was 1/8 of Everton's. In terms of form, despite the recent win against Spurs, it is only 1 win in the last 10 for the Foxes, and they remain in the relegation zone. They host an Arsenal side who were handed a lead against Manchester City in their last game. Stones and Akanji weren't on the same wavelength, which allowed Havertz to pass the ball off to Martin Odegaard for the opening goal of the match. Arsenal could have added a couple more in this first period, but Manchester City held on. Then, the citizens were rewarded for their patience as Erling Haaland levelled the scores with a header guided past Araya. However, parity was not restored for very long as 1 minute later Thomas Partey let rip from the edge of the box. His shot deflected off John Stones and past Ortega to make it 2-1, and from here on out it was all Arsenal. 3 more goals added by Lewis Skelly, Havertz and Nweri to make it 5-1 to the Gunners. In terms of form, that does mean that Arsenal are unbeaten in their last 14, and they're just 6 points behind Liverpool after that match. When we look at the head-to-head record, Arsenal did dominate the reverse fixture between these sides. 35 shots to Leicester's 5, 16 shots on target compared to 3, and an XG differential of 4.6 to 0.32. So, no surprise that Arsenal scored 4 goals and won the game, right? Well, Arsenal did take a 2-goal lead into the half-time interval, but the Gunners soon surrendered the advantage, with James Justin scoring a brace in the 47th and 63rd minute, and it actually took all the way until the 94th minute for Arsenal to retake the lead, and that was thanks to an Ndidi own goal, and then they scored again in the 99th minute with Kai Havertz scrambling the ball into the back of the net to make the scoreline reflect the underlying numbers. In terms of head-to-head form, that victory does make it 6 in a row for Arsenal over Leicester, and my prediction for today's game is that with a relegation candidate hosting a potential Premier League contender, it's a fairly open and shut case. Arsenal are way too strong here and they don't have anything to worry about in terms of fixture congestion, as they were knocked out of the FA Cup and they managed to secure a top 8 spot in the Champions League. I'm going to back the Gunners here to continue their recent dominance over Leicester and pick up yet another win, and I'm going to back that for a full stake in the first bet of today's episode. Our second selection sees 8th place Aston Villa playing host to 19th place Ipswich Town. And Aston Villa, they were bested in the Midlands derby in their most recent match against Wolves. Bellegarde opened the scoring for the hosts, and despite Aston Villa holding most of the possession and generating more shooting opportunities, they were unable to get their equaliser. And then, with the villains pouring players forward towards the end of the game, space opened up for Kuna on the counter-attack, and Wolves doubled their advantage to seal 3 points deep into stoppage time with a 2-0 win. In terms of form, this loss did break a run of 5 games in a row unbeaten in the Premier League for the Villains. They're definitely suffering from a Champions League hangover in that one. They hosted Ipswich Town side who lost against fellow relegation candidate Southampton in their last game. Joe Aribo put the Saints ahead after 21 minutes, with Leon Delap levelling the scoring just 10 minutes later. From there on out, it was a game that was well contested as both sides had a number of half chances to take the lead, but the third and final goal in this match came when Ipswich Town's goalkeeper Muric spilled the ball in the 6-yard box, with Onuachu tucking in the rebound to earn all 3 points late in the game for the visitors. In terms of form, that does mean it's no win in 5 for Ipswich Town, and it is hard to see survival now based on their remaining fixtures. When we look at the head-to-head records, the reverse fixture between these sides was played at Portman Road. Delap opened the scoring to get the Tractor Boys off to a fantastic start, but this lead would not live for very long. Rogers levelled the scoring 15 minutes later, and Watkins completed the turnaround after 32 minutes. However, much to Ipswich Town's credit, they did come out of the second half with real fire, and taking a look at the numbers, we can see that they were the much better side in the second 45. Therefore, it wasn't too much of a shock to see Delep register once again to complete his brace and see the game finish 2-2. My prediction for today's game is that Ipswich will bring the game to Aston Villa and have a great chance of scoring, but it will also open up space for Aston Villa on their attacks. To that end, I think we're looking at goals in this match. Aston Villa have seen over 2.5 goals in 6 of their last 9 Premier League games and in 3 of their last 4 at home. Whereas Ipswich Town, they've seen over 2.5 goals scored in 4 of their last 5 Premier League games and in 3 of their last 4 away matches. Additionally, the last match between these sides saw over 2.5 goals scored, so I will be backing over 2.5 goals, but just for a half stake here in bet number 2. Our third pick in today's episode sees 20th place Southampton playing host to 7th place Bournemouth. And Southampton, they picked up their second win of the Premier League season away at Ipswich in their last game. Goals from Aribo and Anuachu gave Southampton faint hopes at survival, although they are still 10 points from safety with 14 left to play. In terms of form, this win broke a streak of 6 straight losses and no win in 13 for the Saints, so perhaps things are looking up. They host a Bournemouth side who lost by 2-0 against Liverpool in their most recent fixture. Mo Salah's brace settled the matter, first from the penalty spot and then from open play, but looking at the numbers, despite Liverpool edging the game statistically with 3 big chances and 1.58 XG, perhaps the Cherries will be unlucky not to have scored a goal of their own in this match. In terms of form, that loss did break an unbeaten run of 11 in the Premier League, which saw Bournemouth climb all the way up into those European spots. A strong end to the year may yield a Europa League or even a Conference League spot for the Cherries. When we look at the head-to-head record, Bournemouth won the reverse fixture with relative ease. Goals from Evanilson, Otara and Semieno had the Cherries 3 goals to the good within 40 minutes, and from there on out, it was game management from Mariola's side. Although Harwood Bellis did peg one back in the second period for Southampton, the Cherries never really looked like dropping points here. 3-1 to Bournemouth. That result made it back-to-back wins for Bournemouth over Southampton in recent meetings. My prediction for today's game is that Bournemouth have been one of the breakout sides of the Premier League this year. They play some great football and are very fun to watch, and they're capable of scoring a number of goals in a game. Whereas Southampton, they've only picked up their second win of the season and don't appear to be of the level required to stay in the Premier League. Another thing to pay attention to is that Southampton are one of the worst sides in the Premier League when we filter by home form. 1 win, 1 draw and 9 defeats for a minus 22 goal difference would not fill any punters with optimism about them picking up another win. The Saints have also lost each of the last 6 matches played at St Mary's, and in comparison to Bournemouth, they actually climbed 1 spot from the 7th best overall record to the 6th best record on the road. 5 wins, 4 draws and 3 defeats for a goal difference of +5 means that they're one of the better sides on the road in the Premier League. The Cherries are also unbeaten in their last 6 away games, winning 4 of these matches. As much as I would love to back Bournemouth here, they have had a number of draws in their recent away matches. Therefore, I will exercise a little bit of caution and lay Southampton for a full stake in this one. Our fourth and final bet in today's episode sees 14th place Tottenham Hotspurs playing host to 13th place Manchester United. And Spurs, they managed to pick up their first Premier League win in almost 2 months in their last game against Brentford. Son's in-swinging delivery from a corner hit Jan out in the back for the first goal of the game. And then, despite Brentford seeing most of the ball, the end product was simply lacking, and Spurs picked their moment to break. Son played through Sarr and he tucked the ball past the unrushing goalkeeper to double Tottenham's lead and see the game end 2-0 to the Lily-Whites. In terms of form, this victory did break a run of 4 straight losses and a record of no win in 7 for Spurs. They host a Manchester United side who were bested by Crystal Palace by 2-0 thanks to a John-Philippe Mateta brace. United held more of the ball in the game and got off more shots, but it was the Eagles who had the better quality of chances with an XG around twice that of their hosts. The gamble to start Kobbie Mainoo ahead of Højlund and Xerxes did not pay off for Amorim, and it's another defeat for the Red Devils. In terms of form, it's now 2 losses in 3 for Manchester United, and hopes of European football are fading fast. When we look at the head-to-head record, the last encounter between these sides took place in the EFL Cup in December. Spurs won the high-scoring affair by 4-3, but the scoreline doesn't really match how the game flowed. The goal from Kulusevski and a brace from Solanke had Tottenham up by 3-0 at one point. Xerxes and Diallo managed to peg back goals, for United to make it 3-2, before Son ended the game as a contest in the 88th minute with Spurs as 4th. Johnny Evans then added a late consolation goal in the 4th minute of stoppage time to make it 4-3, but there would be no late equaliser for Manchester United. That win for Spurs makes it 2 in a row over Manchester United. They're also unbeaten in their last 5 encounters across all competitions. My prediction for today's game is that neither side can really be trusted to manage a game here. They're both capable of scoring, but also of conceding, and for me that means goals. Spurs have seen over 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 6 Premier League games, and also in each of their last 5 home matches. Whereas Manchester United, they've seen over 2.5 goals in 3 of their last 5 Premier League games, but in only 2 of their last 4 road matches. When we look at the head-to-head record, each of the last 3 and 4 of the last 5 matches between these sides have seen over 2.5 goals scored. Additionally, 4 of the last 5 matches played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium have reached this mark as well. So I do like over 2.5 goals here, but just for a half stake in bet number 4. So there we have it, 4 picks in today's episode, starting off with Leicester versus Arsenal. We're going to back the away side, odds of 1.29, a £40 full stake to return £11.60. Elsewhere on Saturday, Aston Villa host Ipswich. We're taking over 2.5 goals, odds of 1.56, a half stake of £20 to return £11.20. And then also at 3 o'clock, Southampton Bournemouth. We're going to be laying Southampton here. Odds are a little bit shorter than I was initially expecting at around 1.2. A £40 full stake to return only 8. I would suggest giving some thought as to whether you want to take it or not. I was hoping for around about the 1.3 mark, but I will honour it as part of this series. But if you're a little bit unsure about 1.2, I'd suggest staying away. And finally, wrapping up today's episode on the Sunday, Spurs versus Manchester United, over 2.5 goals is the bet, 1.42 are the odds, a half stake of £20 to return £8.40. So across the weekend, we're going to be risking £120 to hopefully pick up as much as £39.20. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't forget to check out the continental picks in the pinned comment down below. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.